The visual that you're seeing here is a video that I took on the shores of Galway in Ireland, early 2020. It also has that little decal that says Power Director because I didn't want to pay for the premium version of this app, and so it sticks that on there. So that's, lovely. Um, yeah, I am recording this because I'm feeling anxious and I don't. Mm, I don't know. I feel like there's something that I want to say, but I don't know what it is. And I figure if I give myself a opportunity to say a thing in a recorded fashion, that maybe I'd figure out what it is. Yeah, hasn't worked so far. Gonna say. Um, yeah, I think that something I've been thinking about lately is art and editing and recording, um, the difference between drafts and final products, and the I always, not always, I often really like things like paintings when they're half done, often more than I like the final version. Because oftentimes I think I find the process, kind of getting a glimpse into how something was done, shows you something about the person doing it, where the final version of art and things often is less personal. It's, the errors and flaws are removed, and it is potentially feels more false, um, in that it's something that is under something that somebody makes. I suppose there's a matter of intent here, where if somebody makes something and they decide that it's done and that it's polished and finished, that it could be so overly curated, maybe not overly, but the capacity to control every little detail means that you're only getting what they thought was worthwhile. And while what they thought was worthwhile is, fine, that's worthwhile, but when we okay, I think the perspective I'm trying to get at here is maybe kind of seen in archaeology, where when we find a piece of art, from humans long ago, that's cool and all, and we learn, that's a thing. But archaeology isn't limited to things people left behind intentionally. We also, look for fire pits and pottery and things of practical value, and practical means, and that the people that left it probably didn't leave it there with the intent of, this pottery I will leave here so that someday in the future it will be found and there will be a, proximity to the fire pit will tell people something about how we lived, or whatever. Um, that only only having polished art, only having edited art, highly curated work, um, it it's sterile. There we go. I think there's a sterility to it. It's an end product. It's not a process. And I think in our culture, where there's less folk art and less, uh, we're focused on consumption of, oh, well, Disney or whoever can do it with $1 million and make it perfect and shiny and everything. So why would you come up with a story yourself? Because it's going to be worse. And that's kind of you know, it's, I mean, I'm not saying that it is going to be worse. I'm saying that it's going to be let's see, because because one has less resources and capacity to make something, um, than a big budget studio, there's just less forms it can take. You can't just make a blockbuster movie. There's anything you could make, a studio could make, plus they can make more stuff. So it can be disheartening to try and make stuff. But then again, a big studio isn't going to make some dinky little thing that you would make because there's no profit in it. Um, and the, profit motive in art is, there's a classic idea of, sellouts and whatnot of, well, you're not making art for art, you're making it for the money. And that has a whole cultural thing that I am not an expert on. I'm not an artist, nor, well, I guess I am an artist because we're all artists and whatnot, but I'm not, I don't fund myself through art, so I don't feel entitled to the title, because that's how we do. Um, yeah, and it's, I think there are, there's definitely a market. I use economic terms for these things. There's an audience for things that are not spick and span and polished and fully curated. I think, for example, the popularity of long podcasts is a good example of you actually, just listen to or watch a conversation between people, and it's not. I mean, it is optimized in that the talk show host, is it is a craft that they are experts in. So, it is still highly curated in that way. But yeah, there's not as much of an audience for things that suck. Um, and I feel like uh, in a being being saturated, being in a situation where like I can watch just fantastic art, and I can look at fantastic art, and just all the time. There's just so much of it, and it's very low barrier to entry. I can just binge on the juiciest, ripest fruit of the art world indefinitely. I mean, there's more art probably in that tier that I could get access to uh, than I have time on the world, in the world, on the world, as a person. Um, yeah, and so we our expectations are driven in a lot of ways by what we're used to, what we're exposed to, what is common. And I think it's a weird thing being exposed to mostly art that doesn't suck because I feel like without the advent of, the internet and recordings and all this stuff, probably most of the art we would, or at least I run into would probably be like, ah, that's nice. Um, but having, and then every once in a while there'd be like, whoa, that's really good. That's really impressive art. But having a lot of crappy art, and I don't mean actually crappy, but like unpolished art. I think it changes the. I don't know. I don't know. It changes something. It's different. It's just different. It's a different experience, and I I think as I make stuff and share stuff, and I don't really like the idea of being famous, or even particularly popular, because the attention of people, especially large groups of people, comes a lot of nastiness that I don't want to deal with at all. So I think there's, part of me that wants to be like, oh, well, I shouldn't do a thing if it's not going to be great. Um, I should aspire to fantastic heights of achievement and in art or whatever. But when I really look at it, um, I don't think I would want that if I got it. So, not a very good setting goals that you don't want to reach. Probably not the best tactic. Really, I don't see the point there. Not a game worth winning. Um, so yeah, I think this is. Mm, I'm just trying to get into the habit of making and sharing things. And if they are unappealing at a broad level, I'm realizing I'm slowly starting to kind of get the picture that I prefer that don't have big mass appeal. So why should I feel ashamed of that? Or why should I feel that as, I count that against myself. But really, I that's silly. It doesn't fit. It doesn't fit what I actually want. Yeah. So so this is just kind of some of me doing that. Here's some uncurated, undirected slop slag of art. Um, and I mean, hardly. It's more like a diary at this point. Um, but I guess is diary art? I need to stop asking the is blank art question. I don't feel that that's particularly useful. Um, yeah, I think ideally, if I could have a goal, which I could obviously, but instead of setting a goal, I'm trying to make a hypothetical goal to kind of mull it over. Um, as far as videos or YouTube or audio or whatever it is I'm doing here, um, if I'm gonna try and make something that's the type of thing I would like to have found, the type of thing I would like to consume, um, and I find that um, something that's hard to always find reliably on YouTube and various mediums is things for ignoring. um, because a lot of media is uh, designed to get your attention, to draw the attention of, you know, flashing lights, bright colors, loud sounds, excited voices, and I find that there are even some like interesting science-y informative channels that I like the content of, but I find myself not clicking on them because I see it's like, oh, it's that host that talks about stuff. But they're just so relentlessly upbeat all the time. And I don't always have the stomach for it. I don't know. Um, because a lot of times I just kind of want something on while I work on something else. It's kind of that background audio and uh, ign- something to ignore. Having having something to ignore that's peaceful and nice, and if my attention does meander back to it, it it doesn't uh, it doesn't grab my attention. It doesn't try and keep me there. I can listen to it um, and ignore it for a while, and then kind of something piques my interest, or I get bored with what I'm working on or whatever, and kind of drift back to focusing on the media in question. And my attention can rest on that for a while, and then it can drift off again. Um, and it's like a non-jealous lover, where um, I find a lot of media very is strongly focused on keeping your attention for itself. And I mean, I'm very much anthropomorphizing here, but I think there's definitely in a lot of cases, that is the intent of it wants to draw your attention and it wants to keep your attention, and it is optimized um, in one way or another to do so by the person or persons who make it, or the algorithm who makes it. Well, who or what, which makes it? I don't know. Should I be ascribing who-ness to algorithms? Yeah. So, and that's the thing too, is as far as things that I can rest my attention on without fear of them, holding on to that attention, digging digging into it and trying to keep it. There's the matter of um, kind of, do I trust the source? Like, you know, like media nutrition of like, oh, is it very, what's the mood that it gives, and is that conducive to the mood that I want in my media diet at the moment? And I think there's space and room for all sorts of flavors on that, but there are definitely times when I want something that's friendly toned, um, like, not, it's not that I'm against violence and cussing and all. Like, I love cussing. I cuss a lot. Um, and I love strange art that really pushes your comfort and is like, oh, whoa, that's weird. That's viscerally, ugh, like that, you know. I think what I'm saying is, yeah, you don't, well, maybe you do, but you don't kind of put on a horror movie in the background as mood, you know, stuff at as you're going to sleep, or at the background at a party, because it's just not. Sometimes you just kind of want something that's there, that's pleasant, and you not. It's not gonna change flavors on you. Yeah, so I don't know. I feel like making maybe maybe trying to make something that fits those criteria sounds nice. A pleasant place. Just yeah, just somewhere something nice. I don't know what that would look like, but maybe you'd look like this.